Hey, what's going on, guys? In this video, let's look through a kind of random mix of pocket money that I've had over the last week, see if we find anything that's worth more than face value. So let's start right off, 2017 A $5 note. I like to look at the serial numbers first, see if there's anything kind of pattern-wise or collectible about it. Doesn't seem like it in this one. And kind of damaged on the back. Keep an eye out here for where they do an anti-counterfeiting measure known as Urian amongst these little fives. They do it on other denominations of notes and little tens and stuff like that. Kind of an over ink here on this 8. You probably saw that immediately. It's really, really small, so unless it's dramatic or filling in a portion of the 8, the blank space of the 8, I don't really consider those collectible per se. And it's not transposed over here on this serial number. It's just not dramatic enough for me to hold on to, but keep an eye out on that. I like to look at the seal, the Great Seal, is what they call it. There's a lot of representations of the number 13 in the seal. And then over here is the all-seeing eye, which is there. And I like to keep an eye out around, the actual lettering, and then the Roman numerals for 1776. Sometimes you might see a little bit of issues with the ink. All right, so go a little bit quicker. 2013 series, real beat up. Washington's almost missing one eye there. Poor Washington. Nothing on the back. Plus, it's really damaged. You can't tell because you're just watching the old vidya, but it's really thinned out from having water damage. So if it were collectible in whatever way, that would detract from the value, of course. And another 2017 A note. This one looks very close in serial number to that first note in the beginning of the video. Probably best shape one so far, so if it was collectible, condition with really anything collectible, whether it's comics or action figures, trading cards, whatever. And of course, that is something that takes effect with banknotes. Anywho. Nothing on the front of that. Hey, saw that peeking out. A little bit of wet ink transfer or press through, so don't get confused by that. Now, this is basically just when they stack the bills. You can see it is the outline of Washington's collar and shoulder there from the front of the note. So it could just be excess of ink through the cotton linen mix paper that we use in the U.S. for currency, or it could be a small wet ink transfer from when they stack this bill on top of another one to make a stack of them or a strap of them, and some ink kind of transferred over. But if it obscures the back or any portion of the note with that ink transfer on the front or back, then you can be sitting on a valuable heir. Hey, star note, and, oh man, and this one's off center. So it's almost a miscut. If you notice how small the border is, margin is on this one, and how wide it is on the rest of this, we can actually look up and see a lot of information on this star note, which we'll do at the end of the video. And I'll show you how to do that, which will tell us kind of some things about its rarity, if it's a duplicate note, things of that nature. But we can tell that this one was actually cut in haste or off center by the machinery, and it sits really far to the left and up. So I really love it. It's actually not bad condition, 2017 A. An interesting thing about star notes is this serial number is probably, if not definitely not, the serial number of the actual note it replaced. You can also see tons of wet ink transfer and then a little bit of damage there, which is kind of lame. But man, really, really cool off-center star note. I really, really like it. I'm going to set that aside. $10 note. Way less of a condition than that previous star note, so not as cool there. 2013 series. And no shifts in the seals. Nothing really jumping out, and this thing has been beat to all get out. It's been used. So, this one's definitely had water damage. You can tell that without actually holding it from the discoloration of the note. So don't confuse that with like ink issues. This discoloration is literally ink bleed within the composition of paper. It just kind of bleeds out as things get wet, just like regular ink on your essay that you forgot to turn in, Series 2017A $1 note. The newer 2021 notes, they're coming out, and they will be the first ones that have two female signatures on them for Secretary of the Treasury and Treasury of the United States. That's kind of neat. Other than that, they have no design changes, so nothing to talk about there. And they haven't updated ones since the late 50s, early 60s when they added In God We Trust. So nothing really to talk about graphic-wise. Cool repetition. Some 5s, some 8s, but nothing really stellar enough for me to hold on to. Yeah, nothing on the back. Center this up a bit. 2017A, this looks like damage, not an ink issue. So just to me, you can tell me in the comments if you disagree, but this looks more like just damage to the note, kind of post-production. Really clean on the back, really nicely centered, you know, compared to this guy that we found earlier. But nothing there. A little bit of 4 action. You can see kind of an ode to how things are printed in an intaglio process is what it's called. It's a 3-phase printing process where some portions of the notes are printed on it, some in it, to preserve different graphics on the notes. Most notably things that matter, which is like the seals and the serial numbers. So that'll tell you and kind of give you an example of when a note is deteriorating like this, why the seals and serial numbers seem to be still pretty solid and pop in color. That'd be cool if that was like a miscut, but it's not. It's just folded over. Nothing else but damage and discoloration on the back of that. Really beat up $10 note, Series 2017, so a little bit newer than the previous 10 we looked at. Nothing to talk about. This thing, you know, it'd be hard to tell if anything was ink issues or misprints due to the damage alone. $1 note, a little bit of shift in the seal, a little bit of damage, missing some of the graphics action on the front there. So nothing much there. Couple zeros in the beginning to me. I mean, if you go on eBay, everybody calls them low serial numbers with like 1 0 in the front. But I personally would not purchase it as a low serial number unless it's 4 zeros in the beginning. That's just me. If you like to collect other things, that's on you. I like to collect, you know, weird notes that have little writing and stamps on them, which usually aren't even valuable. So who am I? But in my opinion, and most numismatists or collectors are probably going to buy it as a low serial number with only 3 or 4 digits in it. Nothing on the back. Yeah, 2009, so oldest $1 note we've gone across in this bill search. Again, nothing to talk about as far as graphics. Somebody folded this bad boy up, so that definitely detracts if it were worth more than $1. Which it's not. It's going to be a little too beat up and not collectible enough for me. And 2017, little shift up in the seal, but unless it's touching Washington, D.C., or it's kind of off in one direction or another, obscuring another portion of the note, so to speak, I wouldn't consider it an error. More of that wet ink transfer or bleed through, so I think it's more common than not, and therefore I don't really consider them errors. Yeah, 2, 3, 4. We're missing a couple digits away from a broken ladder here. Kind of neat as far as kind of close to a cool serial number. Really cool depiction of the U.S. Treasury building. Sometimes you'll see major kind of ink smearing, especially from the green ink used on the trees. Maybe because they're kind of just like a blob. So when it prints, sometimes it'll actually have ink kind of over here. You can see a pretty straight up kind of press through of that serial number. Sometimes when it prints the serial number during the printing process, it just super clamps down and you can almost read it all the way through backward sometimes, and I like to hold on to those. Getting down there, last few notes, 2017 $1 note. Nothing jumping out in the serial number. Nothing on the back. Kind of cool with 5s in the middle here. 2017A. but not enough repetition for me to hold on to. I get asked about that a lot. I usually look for binary notes with just 2 digits in the whole serial number, or I look for trinaries, but with 3 digits, I like them to be grouped or at least repetitious. So, like maybe 00, then fives, then threes, or something like that, as opposed to just mixed matched. Back of the note beat up until this thing got wet at some point, and then it's just a lot of discoloration due to age and use. Last 2 notes look like both fives. Got ourselves a free booger right there. That's nice. Nothing in the serial number. 2013 bill. Looks like the edge of a counter stamp. That's what that little guy is running through the two. You can just kind of, well, I just look at a ton of notes. So, but this is the edge of a counter stamp from a bank. So this one probably sat on top of the stack, and they stamped it when they got all the fives to signify they received it. Nothing jumping out on the back, but check out the Lincoln Memorial if you're ever able to. It's just really cool architecture and super old. Last but not least, 2013 $5 note. And nothing. I mean, it's kind of a broken ladder, but with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But with the repetition, I don't really like it personally. And I think it's reaching a little bit as far as fancy serial number, so I'll kind of pass it up for that. Back of the note, kind of interesting. What's the deal here? Just damage. Look at that. Burn hole through it. I thought it was writing right here. My eyes deceive me. So, nothing on that 5, but I'll use it on my way to Charlotte and grab me some Subway or something on the way. Super awesome find. I love me some star notes, and this one's off center. Really nice, pretty clean note. Overall, at least. Not too bad of condition. No major folds. Little discoloration, little stippling here. But I really, really like it. The back of it's also off center, which is nice. Look at that. Really awesome star note. Let's look it up on the star note search so we can get a little more info and see what the value of this is. And I'll give you my idea of the value of this note at the end of the video. Let's check it out. So I've hopped over to mycurrencycollection.com, and I'm going to select $1 and then the series date 2017A and input the serial number. And then when you hit look up star note, we'll get all this information here. So it's actually a little bit more rare star note. This one's not in bad condition as you saw earlier in the video. And I can probably sell this one for about $10 or $15, maybe more to the right person. Really a good find for a star note compared to the normal, just kind of regular star note we come across in a lot of other videos.